Hey guys, welcome back to another Coffee with Cody and Val. I'm Cody, this is Val, and today we're going to talk about things and stuff.
Stuff and things. So today we want to talk specifically about what is the wealth gap and why you need to pay attention to it.
Yeah, because it's everything, guys. It's like the one concept, the one thing that will make all other things better or possible.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people, the problem that they run into when they start in, personal finance and dipping their toes into this world, and Cody and I certainly did this, is you get caught up in the pay down debt as fast as you can.
Yeah, our experience, I feel like, was very typical of most people who get into the personal finance world at all, of like, things aren't going well, I don't have enough money, I work too hard to be this broke, whatever the situation may be. And you start looking around, you see some of the big names, you read some articles, maybe you buy a book, whatever the case may be. And then you wind up going real hard on the pay down debt because debt is evil and people who have debt are terrible people, and it's just, it's a mess. We go hard for it.
Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that people take literally everything they have left over. They take their money, they pay their bills, and whatever's left over goes towards debt.
Yeah, and you've heard all the slogans, don't step into a restaurant unless you're working there, sell so many things the kids think they're next. Mm-hmm. Scorched earth, gazelle intensity, beans and rice, rice and beans. And I think there's a place for that in very specific situations. Mm-hmm. But for most people, it's just off-putting. It takes what should be a marathon, and you try to run it at a sprint pace, and you burn yourself out and backtrack a bunch.
Mm-hmm. And so there's two problems with this. One is the emotional, psychological effect of constantly being in scarcity, constantly being hyper-focused on paying down debt, mm-hmm. sacrificing your lifestyle and your wants, like vacations and stuff like that, all in favor of paying down debt. Coupled with, you're now no longer saving. You don't have any kind of savings. You rarely have an emergency fund above $1,000. You don't have money set aside for true expenses like clothing, medical.
I don't know about you guys, but $1,000 emergency fund would last us like maybe a week if we were lucky.
It doesn't even cover rent. So what happens is you're sacrificing and you're sacrificing and you're sacrificing and you're grinding, and then life inevitably happens.
Yeah.
And because you're not prioritizing those true expenses and sinking funds, you wind up sliding back into debt.
Yeah, you put stuff off because, I just got to pay off my debt. I got to pay off my debt. Then I'll have so much cash flow freed up, and then I'll be able to fund everything. It'll be fine. Which, if you could make a 6-month sprint to be debt free, you could probably get away with that. You could probably do it and it'd be fine and you would never know any difference. But for most people, what ends up happening is that it winds up being a journey of years or decades or more to get there with, everybody's life situations. And what ends up happening is that you put it off. I'm not gonna get new windshield wipers this time. I'll get it next time. We gotta pay off the debt. I'm gonna put off the oil change. I'm gonna, we can maybe do this to the house, but we'll put it off. Mm-hmm. And then inevitably that shit always comes down on you all at once. Like, you ever notice when you run out of ketchup in the fridge, you're also out of mustard, and you're out of soy sauce, and you're out of mayo, and you're out of steak sauce, and you're out of everything else. You gotta buy it all at once because, I'll worry about it later.
And so this is where the wealth gap comes in. This is why this is important.
Yeah, so I think first it's important to discuss, baby, what is the wealth gap?
So the wealth gap is the margin between your income and your expenses. So if you make $5,000 a month and it costs you $4,000 a month to pay your bills, eat, keep a roof over your head, that kind of thing, your wealth gap is $1,000. Now, most people don't have a wealth gap that big. But if they did, what happens is they throw that $1,000 every single month to their debt. Mm-hmm. And then nothing gets reinvested. Nothing gets set aside for like clothing and vehicle maintenance or birthday parties and gift giving or Christmas.
Or worse, they just burn it like they got money to burn without doing any kind of saving and investing, and without accounting for things like, hey, I'm going to need an oil change. Hey, we're going to need a new fridge soon. Hey, we'd like to take a vacation. And what ends up happening ultimately is that money just gets burnt on fun, frivolous stuff, and then if they want to take a vacation or whatever, it goes on the credit card and racks up more debt.
Mm-hmm. So what Cody and I like to teach is we like to teach people how to expand that wealth gap and how to leverage it in a way that leads to long-term success as well as debt payoff, instead of just throwing it all towards debt and hoping for the best.
Yeah, and there's two ways to really expand your wealth gap. And the first one, you're going to streamline your expenses as much as possible. If that means, taking a couple months in, paying off a credit card balance that's got a high payment on it, or squaring up like an easy home debt if you got some furniture or something when you moved, get rid of that pretty quickly to free up your monthly income. Cancel subscriptions you don't want. It's a big thing. Everybody's jumping ship from Netflix right now. Maybe with good reason, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But streamline your expenses, get them as small as possible to widen out that gap, and then find ways to widen it further by increasing your income, either by, trading jobs, asking for a raise, maybe picking up a side gig, starting a side hustle. We're very big on multiple streams of income across various platforms and helping people have their own online business where they can be location independent.
Yeah, and to add to what Cody said there, I think back about our journey and things that we did. And so one of the things that we did when we were looking to expand our gap, specifically in decreasing our expenses, is we got rid of one of our vehicles. We both had 2 brand new vehicles, and realistically we didn't actually need 2. It was very much a luxury, and so we made the decision to sell one. So we eliminated the car payment, the insurance, and the gas. I think that alone saved us over $1,000 a month.
Yeah, and when we really looked at it, it's not even like it really was like a big change for us in our life and the way we did things. Because I was attached to my truck. Val was attached to her car. It was my vehicle. It was her vehicle, and there was that was kind of hard to get over. But in terms of the way we actually lived our life, when I was home from camp, her car stayed parked. We drove my truck everywhere. When I was gone to camp, my truck stayed parked, and she drove her car everywhere. So we only needed one vehicle.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to have 2 vehicles. And we did all of the things that Cody just mentioned too. Like, we canceled a bunch of unused subscriptions, and we teach you how to do this inside Ahead in 30. Like, part of your spending analysis is to take a look at your spending habits over the last 3 months. And we do this for a number of reasons. One is to identify which of those expenses can you get rid of. We had a lot of subscriptions that we forgot we had or realized we didn't use, but we wouldn't have known if we didn't do the spending analysis.
Yeah, if you don't pay attention to your budget, especially if you sign up for, free trial of this. Oh, I just want to look at that. Oh, I use this a lot right now, and it's really handy to have, and I'll cancel it later. And then sometimes you just forget to cancel stuff. Yeah, so that there saved us a few $100s a month. The other reason why we get you to do the spending analysis is because while you're expanding your wealth gap, we want to identify what is your lifestyle like right now. Why do you spend your money the way that you spend it? And that way, when you're making changes, you're not shell-shocking yourself. Like, Cody and I spent over $2,000 a month dining out, which was basically my take-home income at that point. Yeah. Now, it could have been really easy to say, like, oh, let's just cold turkey quit dining out, and Val can, quit her job. We can have $2,000 a month to pay down debt, however we wanted to look at it. And we attempted to do that, and after failing 3 or 4 months in a row and feeling like, oh man, we're sacrificing all this enjoyment we got from dining out, and we're not making headway. Yeah, all the ease, all the convenience, everything it brought to our lives, because, we did enjoy it. We like going out, we like hanging out, we like not doing dishes, we like the convenience of it, the novelty of food that we didn't have to cook, and depending on where you go, you can usually get it better than you will at home and a lot quicker, and then you don't have to clean your stove.
Yeah, and so we realized, oh, okay, these are the reasons why we like to dine out, and we still dine out. We spend probably $150 to $250 a month, which is a lot better than $2,000 a month. Yeah. But that took progression to get down there.
Yeah, it took a while, and we had to factor in the way we want to live our life and what we actually want to do with our money, because contrary to popular belief, unless you're in really dire straits that you need to make some drastic cuts now, it's a lot easier to just transition to doing what you want to do and then allowing that to carry forward forever. Because I've said many times, the perfect plan never used doesn't work. The absolute best plan for anything, for your diet, for your gym, for your finances, for your career, for personal development, for whatever you want to do, the absolute best plan is the one that you can stick to for the long haul.
Yes. And so those are some of the things we did to bring down our expenses. And then as we were expanding that gap, because now our expenses are dropping and our income staying the same, we have a wider wealth gap. Instead of taking all of that money and just throwing it at debt, we would invest into, learning new skills. Or, I specifically learned how to start taking work on Upwork and making extra money that way. But that required me to invest in myself a little bit to learn more about graphic design and more about, websites and SEO and stuff like that, how to use Illustrator and Photoshop and all kinds of things. And so we tell you when you're expanding your gap to reinvest some of that into yourself, because if you can invest in yourself to pick up skills that you can monetize, that means you can add new revenue streams. So now it's not just about cutting down your expenses, but now you're actually using that money to invest in increasing your income. And as these two things move in opposite directions, you're widening that wealth gap. As your wealth gap gets bigger, that's when it becomes really easy to, okay, here's a percentage to spending, and here's a percentage to invest in myself, and here's, then the rest of it can go to debt. And you create a situation where you can, maybe it's not as fast as you want it to be, but it's based in reality. It's based on realistic human behavior, your psychology, the long-term ability to pay down debt while still investing in yourself and your future.
Yeah. It's really easy in the video games to get, have cool adventures, get jacked, get rich, because you don't have those human needs. You just, I want to do the thing that's going to save the most money. I want to do the thing that's going to make the most money. I don't care if I like it. I don't care if it's fulfilling. I don't care if it's soul crushing. This is my end goal, and I'm going to do that. And that's really easy to do through an avatar on a screen. When that avatar is you, that becomes very, very difficult. So you're much better off. Like I said, run the marathon at the marathon pace. Don't try make it a sprint, because you will burn yourself out before you're even out of sight of the finish or starting line. And then where are you? You're demoralized at the very least, and still having to do the marathon anyway.
So if you made it to the end of this video, we want to encourage you to take action after you're learning something. So go through your finances, figure out how you're spending your money, why you're spending it the way you are, where can you start, what ways can you start increasing your wealth gap, how can you decrease expenses, and how can you increase your income and add new revenue streams.
Yeah.
Could be selling stuff around the house on Facebook Marketplace, could be driving for Uber Eats.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much stuff, like even, we're pretty hardcore about slash and burn and get rid of stuff that's taking up space that we don't need. And you'd be surprised how much extra clutter there is that you could get rid of. That would, one, provide you with a little extra money to do something with, and also like free up a lot of like mental bandwidth, because it's surprisingly it utilizes a lot of headspace just having stuff in your space. And
consider consider spending a little bit of that money and investing in yourself to pick up a new skill set, like learning how to copyright, web design, graphic design, SEO optimization, whatever it is. You can pick up courses on Udemy for like $20 to $100, it just depends on what you want to learn. And those are lifelong skills that you can apply to yourself as well as a service to others.
Yeah, it's, you guys, you're the best investment you're ever going to make. The best ROI you're going to get on anything is your skills and knowledge. Because, I mean, even if you were to say, hey, if I invest in X, that would be the best investment. That'd be, if I'd have invested in Bitcoin when they were 10 cents, and sold them when they were $80,000, that would have been the best investment. Well, if you didn't have that knowledge and those connections and that experience, you wouldn't have been able to capitalize on that. You are always the best investment you're ever going to make.
100%. So if you want to have a little more support on your journey to expanding your wealth gap, getting control of your finances, and breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle, you can join us inside Ahead in 30. There will be links below if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. And we teach you how to do all of what we just talked about, how to do your spending analysis, how to create a realistic budget, how to support your desired lifestyle, how to expand that gap and reinvest into yourself, your goals, pay down debt, all of that. Plus you get 30 days of coaching with it as well. Yeah, you get FaceTime and back and forth with us, because there's nothing worse than, hey, here's a template that will work for everyone if you just do it. And then you look at this template and you're all excited for it. You're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then we get down to the details. You're like, how the shit do I make this apply to me? Finances is not the same for everybody.
Guys, it's so messy.
Yeah, what works for us might not work for you. But the principles we've learned over the years, we can learn to apply to any situation in a way that will support you in your goals.
Exactly. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods change, principles never do.
That's right. So that's it.
Yeah, we're going to leave you here, guys. Thanks for tagging along, having coffee with us. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.